Tom Curran, how are things going at the NFL Combine?
You would ask Phil. He's our local representative from NBC Sports Boston. I go to the owners' meetings. Phil goes to the Combine. I like it like that. But the Combine seems to be moving at pace, and all the things that we need to know, specifically the Vrabel and Wolf communications, have been transmitted back, so I am fully abreast of all the goings-on.
Perfect. Then that's where I'll start. Elliot Wolf spoke yesterday. I know, and you can, I don't know what adjective you could use, but you've been sort of critical of Elliot Wolf, I feel like, on some of the hits on the station of late, and had some expectancy, things you wanted cleared up when he spoke. He spoke yesterday, and obviously the most interesting thing was him saying he has final say on the roster. What was your reaction to that, and do you believe that to be true?
I thought Elliot Wolf stunk last year before the season even began, because I thought he paid lip service to the notion of the things that he had done, and for him to express just the idea that he had no concept of what people were talking about when it was wondered whether or not the team could support a rookie quarterback was gobsmackingly condescending to me. It later was borne out that they couldn't really support that player. So I was not an Elliot Wolf fan. It decreased throughout the year. By the end of the year, with the blame laying, it continued to slide downhill. So I'm looking at a guy who, with Green Bay, Cleveland, and in his tenure here in New England, has done absolutely nothing to be in the position he's in. When I heard Mike Vrabel say, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't comfortable, and then Elliot Wolf say, I have the 53, somehow it was bartered and bargained that, Elliot, we're not going to redo your whole contract and pull that little piece out there that says you have control of the 53, because then we'd have to go through a whole process of bringing in a new general manager. You can keep that. You can keep the title. You are here to serve Mike Vrabel, though. And I don't expect you to use that line in your contract ever with Mike Vrabel, because you don't have enough pelts on your particular wall to tell anybody how to do anything. That was my impression.
Fair enough, no less. Obviously, a lot with Combine free agency coming up in less than 2 weeks. But yesterday, a little bombshell dropped on top of all of us with the NFLPA rankings. I know that Pats finished pretty low last year, like 26, 27. But were you surprised with all the negative press that came with last year's rankings that they dropped another 4 spots to 31?
Yeah, I was surprised that it got worse. I mean, I think that there's some question. I think it came to light last year that a lot of that most of the report cards were filled out. And I have to check this and find out if it's truly the case this year as well. They're filled out during training camp. They made some strides on fixing things. I have a hard time believing that the owner's devotion to winning is 31st highest in the NFL, given that there's 6 Lombardis here and he's done a pretty good job, privately financed stadium. But I am not pretending that the team isn't without its warts. I just don't think that they have a huge cadre, and I'd love to hear Ted Johnson's input on this because I believe it's pertinent. A lot of these things that they're voting on are, yes, they're important to have hot tubs. It's important to have training staff. It's important to have nutrition. It's important to have a head coach who takes care of your time. But some of these things like the family services and childcare and after game buffets, they're so peripheral to winning football. You know, when you vote on the coaches, the voting, I think, was done on how much do they respect your time and listen to your problems. It has nothing to do with the football team. It has nothing to do with scheme or anything like that. So, look, they're certainly in the lower quadrant in the minds of players, but who are these players? There's one guy, I think, on the entire team who won a Super Bowl. That was David Andrews. So I take it with a grain of salt, but certainly the Crafts, I'm sure, do not, because it's the second time in 2 years they've gotten hit with a rolled-up piece of newspaper by their players.
Yeah, Tom. This is, this to me feels like something that the Crafts, this will sting, this will hurt. They care about perception, and so I'm sure that survey was not fun for them to have to hear about. And to your point, you're right. I mean, a lot of people ask me about how it was when I played here. I'm like, I didn't know any better. I only played for one team.
Right.
And so to me, I was fine with the arrangement, but it's a different era, different player. But so it's a lot different, I guess, with today's athlete. But Tom, I'm curious what your thoughts are. Devon Godchaux was given the permission to seek a trade A lot of people, there's talk about maybe the Patriots might want to be feel similarly to Christian Barmore. I don't know, but just your thoughts on telling Devon Godchaux to seek a trade. Does that mean a shift in philosophy? Did you read into that decision at all, and as far as philosophy and where the Patriots might want to be going on defense?
I think it has probably to do with value. I think it's a $9 million a year guy. He signed a new extension last year after having signed an extension the year before after having gotten a decent free agent contract in 2021 from Bill. And that contract last year came after he was kicking rocks about the fact that Christian Barmore had gotten a significant pay raise. And I think the two were tied together, and Godchaux basically acknowledged that. Additionally, he's making a lot of money. He's looking at other people's salaries and saying, where's mine? And he's not on really a winning team while he's doing that. And I also wonder about the scheme fit and shift. As Phil Perry pointed out, he's more of a two-gapping kind of guy. When you look at Tennessee, they were more of a penetrating defense. So I think all three of those things together, if Godchaux is the kind of guy who looks at somebody else's contract and says, how come he got that and I didn't? And then decides he's not going to practice until he does. And it sure seemed that was the landscape last offseason. Then is that somebody you want to spend $9 million a year on and also say, okay, this is somebody I want as part of my team going forward while I'm trying to instill a new culture and have people all rowing in the same direction. So I think all those things together, Ted, probably added up to, if he wants to go someplace else, he can. If he stays here, that's fine too. We'll figure out a way to make it work, but we could live without him.
Tom Curran from NBC Sports Boston joining us here on WEEI Afternoons. Tom, some of us have been kind of lusting for Tee Higgins for it seems like 2.5 years now. And then The Athletic reported today that the Patriots may not be in on Tee Higgins at all. What do you make of that report? Do you think they should be in on Tee Higgins? Is it just because it's going to cost a draft pick and a lot of money? What are your thoughts on the Tee Higgins situation?
If they walk past the shop marked Tee Higgins and don't even walk in and look at the price tag, that would be a bad thing to do. It would be negligent. But I've always thought that Tee Higgins will end up not being a Patriot. I've said, it's a less than 10% chance throughout this process because he's either going to wind up back with the Bengals or he's going to say, I'm not going to the Patriots, or the Patriots are going to say he's not a $35 million a year player. And that, to me, market down is what he's going to end up being. And that's higher than Justin Jefferson. That's higher than who the other guys who are at the top of the market there at that position.
Devontae Adams, I believe, still
Jamar
is.
Chase is going to get 40.
Adams was like 35. That's going to get torn up. But he's going to end up at $35 million a year, especially with the cap going up to $280 million. He is not somebody who should be paid more than twice what the next highest paid Patriot is making. He's playing with a great quarterback in Joe Burrow, with a great wide receiver on the other side, and he's a little bit injury prone. Do I think that the Patriots need to get better at wide receiver? Yes. Do I think Calvin Ridley at $22 million was a good idea? Yes. Did I think Calvin Ridley at 27 wasn't? Correct. I'm glad the Patriots pushed away from the table. You don't have to push away from the table in late February on Tee Higgins, but I don't mind if they say, you know what, I'm not sinking $140 million into this guy.
So obviously
Is that wrong?
No, I think
Is that wrong, 50?
You said it perfectly. They have to at least look in the store and then go, geez, what's the price tag, and walk out quickly. That's fine, but at least look in the store.
Yeah, don't just window shop, or don't just tell your friends that you heard it's overpriced. At least walk in, say hi to the customer service representative and walk around and pretend you're interested. Then just fake a phone call and walk out of the store. That's the way you got to conduct business. But as far as looking to bolster both lines, add talent at wide receiver and more, we got the Underwear Olympics kicking off now. I'm following the heights and weights and everything else that are coming through on Twitter right now, just like everyone else, Tom. So we've been kicking around a bunch of names this week. I ask you, hey, Tom E., you got any guys you keeping your eye on as like potential Patriots out there at the Combine?
Well, I'm more focused on that 4th overall pick, so it's not really extending at this point past your Mason Grahams and Will Campbells. As the Patriots kind of stated, they don't want to go into the draft having to fill a bunch of needs, all caps and bold-faced. They want to have those needs addressed in free agency. The problem is they sit there with $120 million in cap space, and there is not $120 million worth of merchandise in the store as they stand in the parking lot. And I know that most people in the media right now are saying, I don't care, get in there and shop your faces off and do not come out with any money left in your pocket. But this is exactly what existed last year. Tyron Smith, Jonah Williams, Andy?
Yep.
Williams.
Jonah Williams, tackle, yeah.
And he's being untethered now by the Rams, if I'm not mistaken. They're looking for a taker for him.
Dude.
He could seek a trade. So those were the two best tackles last year. The two best this year are Ronnie Stanley and Alaric Johnson, who are, okay. And Ronnie Stanley's probably going to re-sign in Baltimore. So it's going to be hard through free agency to walk out and have all your needs filled, unless you figure out some trades, which I've been a long proponent of. Figure out trades, do as well as you can in free agency, and then go to the draft. So I stick with, the larger names right now. Had I known that you were going to ask about specific prospects, and that's definitely something we could, hey, Tom, make sure you're up to date on all the prospects. I will definitely
Every one of them. 6th round tight end.
Make sure you're up. No, just give me some wide. Because if you want to talk about tight end, I would entertain Tyler Warren at number 4.
Yeah, hey,
I would.
So would I, buddy.
That's my jam.
So would I.
Yeah, Tommy, that's what I'm talking about.
Did you say at number 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
He's a dynamic player, guys.
Wow.
Very dynamic.
Love it.
Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
I'm there.
You love the
I'm
player?
glad. No, the heat's off me. All I did was name 3 of the top 10 guys, and
Nailed it.
And the pants came off. No doubt. And real quick, Tom. I don't know if you saw. I feel like it's coming down more and more. I'd love Tyler Warren, but to either Will Campbell or Mason Graham. Mason Graham, did you see his comments at the combine? He's not doing anything other than the bench press.
Yeah.
And he said, if you have any problem with that, just go watch the Michigan tape. Which I love that attitude. That's like my kind of guy right there is Mason Graham. That's a great way to kind of excuse yourself for not participating in the combine.
How will Mike feel about that, Ted? Knowing him as you do.
I think he'll kind of get down with that a little bit. I think there's kind of like, that kind of attitude, that kind of confidence is when you're an alpha amongst other alphas, there's something to that. So I think he might actually find that, kind of badass.
I wonder, too, how having kids who have participated in college sports at high levels, especially his own son going through playing at BC and then, graduating and being undrafted. Mike didn't want to draft him either. So there's a reality that I think that Mike will understand about the viewpoint of these players from a different vantage point. So that's going to be worth asking about. How does your son's experiences and your experience as a father help you relate to what these guys are going through right now? Good stuff, Ted.
Yep.
Tom, good stuff from you. Appreciate you joining us as you do each and every Thursday at 3:30, and we'll talk to you next week as we get closer to free agency.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, and I hate to use this reference, but it's from The Dark Knight. I'm not the hero that you're looking for, but I'm the one that you have.
Oh, no.
Yep, nailed it, Tom.
That was
FYI, Rich Keefe gets really upset when people butcher the quote.
That was a fireable offense.